There's a lot I don't like about the human race.
Yeah.
But what I do like is individuality. Music is the answer, and it's a way you can express yourself and express who you are. After I stopped cycling, what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, I literally loved this sport. Like, it's all I thought about. I was completely obsessed. When I was in the last 2-3 years of my career, I could not work it out. I could not get to a point where I was okay with stopping because I was brokenhearted. Everyone hears music differently and feels it differently, but the stuff that I listen to and that I play and that I'm into, it's like it consumes me. I feel happier. This is where I'm at now. There's loads of people out there who would say to me, you need to grow up. You know, you're a dad. Sometimes I think, actually, yeah, maybe I do need to grow up. You know, from the outside, people may think what you're doing with your music or how you are is 19-year-old-ish, but actually that's 1% of my life. The rest is completely committed to my family and who I am as a dad and a husband. Who I was as a 24, 25-year-old, I do not recognise that person. I can't relate to it. I don't see myself in him now. I am completely different.
Right. Welcome to the very first Full Moon Festival podcast, Mr. Peter Kennaugh, MBE. Wow. So we've got a little bit of a confession to make, haven't we?
About?
Well, for the last 10 years, you've been secretly DJing with a cap on, going by the initials of PK, and turns out that you're actually Peter Kennaugh, who loves music as well as cycling. Yeah. Which is great. So.
Yeah, I think it's been way more than 10 years.
Is it more than that, is it?
Yeah. Right. I also really like that you've started the podcast with, you know, not sort of getting into my life as Peter Kennaugh, which is quite nice. Which is quite nice because I know it'll come.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna delve into that. You know, the reason that we're here, and somebody did say to me this week, they went, "I've heard Peter Kennaugh's on your first podcast," and I went, "Yeah, and what's he got to do with Full Moon?" And I'm like, "Well, you'll have to wait and see, won't you?"
Yeah.
But I think it's a good time because, like, a good example, my mum, she knows who Peter Kennaugh is. My dad's a big cycling fan. It's only when I told them this week about doing this podcast with you that they actually went, "What? So PK is Peter?" I'm like, "Yeah." So although all of the scene sort of know who you are, just like all of the scene know who Banksy is. No, I'm not telling you. The actual general public don't really know that Peter Kennaugh is PK, a brilliant DJ, a brilliant producer, and I just think it's a really nice way of them finding out.
Yeah, so I guess I can take you back a little bit into the DJ world that I've sort of lived in for since I was 14, 15. So I'm terrible at maths. I'm 35 now, so 20 years almost.
20 years.
But got my first set of... had vinyl Stantons first. They were the cheapest on the market. And it was all Scout House back in the day.
Belt Drive as well, or?
Belt Drive, yeah.
Wow.
And then I got Stanton CDJs for like my birthday when I was... Christmas, when I was 15. But they were... it was so hard to mix on them.
Yep.
Anyway, I used to throw house parties, New Year's Eve house parties with my parents. They were downstairs, and me and Tim would move all our furniture and everything in the room that we had, literally, into my sister's room and just empty it. So it was just like a box, like empty. So you had room to dance, room to move.
Yeah.
And we used to get, it's like when you used to have wallpaper, the tables that you can get in B&Q.
Pasting tables.
Yeah.
You
used to set that up, 15 quid from B&Q, set the decks up. And the best part about this story is about like when I started DJing, and Lauren Kennaugh now, who was Lauren Young, my wife, she was at that New Year's Eve party with, I don't know who she was with, some of her mates anyway, but I didn't even know her, barely spoke to her, and now I'm married to her.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Well, you know how it is on the Isle of Man. It's a small community, like groups of friends hang out with each other. And
correct. And when we all get to adults, especially now, I'm seeing it with my kids coming home and, I'm going out with such and such, and we know all the parents.
There's always a connection, isn't there?
Well, Travis, my middle guy, is going out with Phil Quirk and Natalie's daughter.
Yeah.
Obviously, know Phil from Metabolism.
Yeah.
And Natalie runs the burger van up at the festival.
Yeah.
So
as long as it's not your cousin or your sister-in-law, then it's all right.
Keep a little bit of distance. Yeah. So the first I heard of you DJing was a Boxing night. It was the place that used to have like a foreign name. Havana, yeah. And it was Chris Walker who told me. Obviously, I've been friends with Chris since we were 10. He thinks very highly of you, especially as a DJ. He even sent me a message when he saw the post that you were playing. He commented on it. He said, PK should be playing. You know, he should be. He's a really good DJ. So it's time the Manx people got to see that. So you're warming up for Youssef. Youssef has been everywhere. You know, he's had his own brand. He's done some huge nights. He's played in space, DC, everywhere. So what are your thoughts on warming up for some of that? Because it's a difficult job warming up for somebody. You sort of have to take a step back a little bit at first, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, like in terms of, if we want to just come back a step first in terms of DJing for me and being PK and introducing who I am as a DJ, it's always quite difficult for me because I'm not coming from an unknown commodity or people, for everyone else out there, I am Peter Kennaugh.
Yeah.
Like whether they know me as a DJ or know me as a cyclist, if they see me or hear about me, like that's who I am. And with the career I've had and everything that I've been through to where I am now, it's really difficult for me to put myself out there in a producer way or a DJ way because of it's how good I am. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or scared to fail or whatever it is, but it's not just like I'm just a normal person who wants to produce and can kind of like fly under the radar a bit.
No,
I've got this like
background,
and do you know what? That's on me as well because that's how I think. It's not, you struggle, don't you, to see sometimes how you're always in your own head.
Yeah.
So when I'm like
and overthinking,
when I'm like making tunes or DJ and I'm thinking, okay, I've been to the top in a different form of life, in a sport, but I'm so aware of what's good and what's not good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like for me, where I am production wise now, I sort of compare myself to like, if you think of Carl Cox.
Yeah.
When I was a professional cyclist and came back and did the local road races.
Yeah.
I'm like the guy who I raced against, who was a postman or fireman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not naive to... I'm not naive to where I am now or where the sort of best producers are and DJs are in the world.
Yeah.
But this is what I love doing and this is what I'm passionate about. So regardless, like the fireman or postman who does the local races on the Isle of Man or anywhere in the world for that matter, regardless of how good you are, if you're passionate about it, you'll still do it. Correct. Because you love it.
Correct.
But I mean, getting back to Full Moon and warming up for Youssef, I mean, it's huge for me. Like it's not something I'm going to take lightly. I understand who Youssef is and I understand his career and like how much experience he has as a DJ. And for me, it's about, just creating a vibe that people can really get into and love and still sort of put my own stamp on it, but then leave everyone else wanting more for when Youssef comes on. I think that's what a warm-up DJ is all about. Correct,
and manners, and that's why for the first 2 years this slot's been given to Neil Cowie, and Sammy J's played the sax, and it's been perfect. And I'll give you a good example here. One guy come up to me, he was a very good DJ. Oh, please let me play that slot before Bushwhacker. I'll lift the roof off the place, I'm going to smash it. And as soon as he said that, I'm like, well, that is exactly the opposite of what I'm wanting. And knowing what Bushwhacker was like, because I read a lot of stuff on him before he came, the last thing that Bushwhacker wants is somebody leaving the decks at 140 beats a minute, glitter cannons going off everywhere and men in thongs dancing in front of him. He made it all very clear in his article. So when he turned up at Full Moon and just saw like a 90s warehouse rave, he was over the moon with it. But going back to the where you're at as PK and Peter Kennaugh, to hide. I know you've not tried to hide who you are, but you've not pushed who you are when it comes to DJing, and that's really cool, because you could have so easily just used that as like a thing to get you going, and you've got to where you are here, and obviously you've done events in England off the back of being PK. Nobody knows about Peter Kennaugh. So the people that do know anyway. The people that don't know will know when they watch this. And it was really difficult for me, because I was talking to Mario, my wife, last week about what I was going to say to you and stuff. And this was before you'd already said it's okay to come out as Peter Kennaugh kind of thing. Come out, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? Sorry about that. So I said to Mario, I said, what am I going to do? Am I going to sit him opposite with me? Am I going to have to put a bag in his head so people don't find out who he is? And then you put a video out. It's the first video I've seen where you're actually DJing and you're on camera. And it was like a bit of a relief for me, because I thought, right, at least now I can get to the real Peter Kennaugh. You're very, very good. You're very different to what the Isle of Man has, which is what I like. You seem to have your own style, and your production is good. Do you see it going any further than this in the future?
Further, I don't know. I mean, we need to sort of like look, for me, and to explain where I'm at with music, I think the listeners need to understand the bigger picture with where I'm at in my life. I'm married, I've got 4 kids, I'm not 19, no strings attached, with the world in front of me. Can't just pack my bags and move off to Berlin. So there's that. There's a mortgage, there's loads going on. I work for Astana, which was the team that Cav broke the Tour de France record with last year.
It's a big gig.
It's big, yeah. So I mean,
big job to walk into.
I've got a lot of responsibilities.
Yeah.
But having said all that, it doesn't stop me from believing, dreaming that one day I can pursue this passion. But also, it's not why I do it. I'm not into music to make a career out of it. If the stars aligned and for some reason anything happened career-wise out of it, brilliant.
Yeah, it's a bonus.
It's just, I just love it. Like, I've loved it ever since I heard the first, I mean, we can call it repetitive beat, but I was just consumed by it. Like, my whole, I don't know, like, I was just so taken by it, and I was like, God, this is me. Yeah. I just loved it. I felt normal. I felt at ease.
Happy place.
Yeah. And it's like, you talk about warming up for you, Save, and you talk about different genres or whatever, but when we were just setting up the cameras and everything here for the studio and sort of tunes I was playing, I could, but it's just like, I love that type of vibe where you can just roll to it and you can conversate, you can dance, whatever you want. But I just love being in that space where, everyone's there, everyone's one. You feel the music. It's not like in your face. Like, I think it comes with age as well. Like, I don't really sort of lend myself to music now where it takes over from any sort of scene. I like the music to set the tone, and then you decide what you do with it. Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's no age limit on the stuff that you were playing earlier, whereas a lot of this 145, 150 beats that all the young lot are into now, they're into it because they're young. I must admit, I've actually bought some of these mad tunes, these fast ones, but stuff like you were playing before, it's timeless. And obviously, as people get older, I'm not going to say we're all at the age where we're doing granddad dancing, but you can sort of bop around to this music, whereas you can't bop around to the Hannah Lang kind of stuff. Yeah. You've got to run on the spot and jump as fast as you can, haven't you? So, but that kind of stuff, you can play it at the start of the night, you can play it at the end of the night. You hear a lot of it at sunsets at Ibiza, Café Del Mar. Yeah. I've loved it for years, and it's never took off over here until you, Connor, has been doing a bit of it, I
Tom
think.
Doyle as well.
Yeah, and Tom. Yeah. And it's nice for me, and that's why I was keen to get you involved in the events, because not many people are brave enough to try and push something new. It's like these new guys, the Propaganda lot. They're fair play to them. Callum from Volume is away now. They've come along, they're setting up this night, Propaganda, and they're playing hard techno. Now, I love hard techno, but is the Isle of Man ready for hard techno?
I'm not sure.
Hopefully
But then,
tomorrow
you
night,
know,
won't we?
what I will give to them is that, and it's the same with me as well. I wouldn't now I wouldn't really like do an event or play something that I don't feel like that it's not part of me.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't like DJ for a wedding or DJ for a 30th if he didn't want me to play the music that I like. And I think that's the whole point of DJing, isn't it?
Like, same rule.
So I think like for the propaganda crew, what they're doing, it's like if that's what you're into, then
that's why
brilliant. You know, it's like So I think that, and that's why you DJ, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is.
Play music that you like and that you hope that you can sort of get across, show some of your personality, show what you're into, show a good set, and hope people enjoy it of a similar sort of vibe that you're into. You know, everyone. There's a lot I don't like about the human race.
Yeah.
But what I do like is individuality. You know,
music is
and music is the answer, and you can, and it's a way you can express yourself and express who you are, or who maybe you are, who people don't know you as. You know, it's a great form of expression.
Here's one for you, right? You've got this really good job, director of sport, is it, or something? This big cycling team.
So basically, to simplify the whole job situation, it's like a football manager like Pep Guardiola or Klopp, but literally I'm nowhere near as good as them in the cycling world. But it's effectively what they do in a cycling team. So you do the tactics, you do logistics, you do just organise basically everything that happens at a race. And then so you'll be on the team bus at the start, you'll explain the stage, explain what we're going to do as a team, and then you follow them in the car. So you have them
actually coaching them as such. They have coaches as well. Or,
so now it's all, everyone has an individual job role.
Yeah.
So now there's a coach, there's the sports director, which I am.
Yeah.
And there's a nutritionist. So it's I'm not a coach now.
But that obviously it's work. But does it fill that void? Because obviously, you know, leaving cycling, everybody's career ends at some time. Is that void now filled with this job?
Yeah, it is, because if you think, and the penny dropped for me because I didn't really know what I wanted to do after I stopped cycling, what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. Yeah. And as a bike rider, the one thing I always said was I would never ever be a sports director. Right. Because I was like, are you joking? As soon as I'm done, as soon as I'm done with the sport, I'm off. Yeah. You're never going to see me again. Yeah. But that was immaturity and naivety. I mean, so I started with Trinity Racing, which was an under 23 team. Yeah. So it was just a way to get back into sort of the scene, and you know, the pay wasn't very good, but I loved working with the younger guys. I felt like I'd give a lot back. Yeah. And then also when during the first year of that, I was like, oh my God, I love this. Yeah. This is amazing. Yeah. And then I started to think, oh, maybe I could actually do this. You know,
it's a job, a real job.
Like in the world tour at the top level. Mm-hmm. But when you think, and then I started like to think back, and I was like, actually, when you think about it, since the age of 10 to 30, my life has consisted of living out of a suitcase, going from hotel to hotel, having structure, being away from home, yeah, etc., etc.
So as soon when you went first,
I went to under 8 BMX national championships.
Under 8?
Under 8, without my parents.
Okay.
On my own.
Wow.
So, I mean, when you think of it like that, it's like...
Is that BMX racing or freestyle?
It's just like BMX racing like you see in the Olympics, yeah.
Okay.
But all of a sudden I realised what I was doing again as a manager, director, whatever you want to call it. It felt so normal because I'd done it my whole life. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, maybe I could do this as a job. And it felt good to be back in the race and being part of a team, the camaraderie, the work ethic, the structure, everything that comes with a high performance role, the sacrifice.
So it gives you, especially when your guys get results, but it gives you everything that you used to get from cycling.
Yeah.
The disappointment also when they don't do as well as you want to.
Yeah, look at it, like anyone. If you look at anyone who is having like problems or lost or struggling in life, like what is the one thing that a psychiatrist or psychologist would say to them? Structure, routine, lifestyle, health. And it's like, what I didn't realise was how much of that cycling gives you. Yeah. Which is and a lot of sports, especially a lot of fitness sports. Yeah.
So this is the big question. So you've been in France or Belgium doing your big cycling thing. You're the boss. Guys have got a good result. You get home. First thing you want to do is see your missus, your kids. Second thing you want to do, and I know that I don't even have to ask you this, you just get straight onto your music. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. So tell you what, it depends how the head is and how the travel home was. I had Paris-Nice stage race was the race I've just come from. Starts in Paris, 8 days. Yeah. Goes south, finishes in Nice. It's called Course au Soleil, so it's the race to the sun. Okay. Because at that time of the year, Paris not very good weather. Nice. Yeah. Good weather. Do you like France? Not really. No. Okay. We won't go. So anyway, my flight was leaving Nice at 7 a.m. and was landing on the Isle of Man 10:50. I was like, that's a bloody good flight, that, isn't it? The fact that you're in Nice at 7 and you get home before 11, I was like, get in there. Yeah. Get on the first EasyJet flight from Nice, fall asleep because I was up at like 4:30 to get there. A girl next to me, who when she got on the flight, she's like, oh, hello, are you Peter? I was like, yeah. She's like, oh, I'm from the Isle of Man. Oh, I was God. Like, oh. Yeah. I was like, that's random. Always happens. Yeah. Always. But from Nice, even rarer, you know. Yeah. She was like, oh, so the plane's not taking off. It's there's a problem with the megaphone that they speak through to say. The megaphone. Yeah. That's literally what it's called, though. Is it? Yeah. It's not a microphone. I don't know. Oh, I don't know. Right. Anyway, I thought a megaphone was one of them things. The big tannoy things, yeah. Yeah. It had broke or ran out of batteries or something, and they can't fly if it's not. It's like part of the all these boxes they've got to tick. Yeah. So I was like, oh my God. So anyway, we had to get off the plane. I didn't get home till like 8 o'clock or something. So that was the mission. So I was wrecked, and then you're buzzing to see the kids. But then Lauren as well. She's like with the kids when I'm away the whole time on her own, very hard. Yeah. And then also more when I was a rider, it was more hard for her and me to get back into the routine of husband and wife and mum and dad. But now, as a sports director, it's easier because when I'm at work, and when I'm at home, Yeah. So it's like when I was a rider, it would be more difficult because I'd be so self-centered and conscious about, I need to get to bed early, I need to eat this. Yeah. I'd be thinking about the race that was coming up next week. So I was always so stressed that I'd be like, it'd be hard to just be present with the family. Yeah. But now I've started to, I still struggle a little bit, but I'm getting better and better at just taking a step back and just being like, I'm home now, just relax, make the most of family time. And it's, everyone, we both have our different routines, and I think we're finally, after years and years, we're at a point now where it is very, very smooth. And then the best thing about it is Lauren works in Doon School, Alba's in nursery 5 days a week, Axel, Emerson and Grayson are all in school 5 days a week. So do you know what that means? I've got from 8:30 until 3:30. Produce some music. Do what I want. Wow. I quite like the idea of that. I can relate to everything you've said there. Obviously, I was a rally driver. I got to a high level. I was a works driver for Honda. Not the level that you were at. But I was told what I could eat. I was told what time I was going to bed. And I was told what I could and couldn't say. And as much as it wanted to be my dream, I didn't leave school wanting to have the job. I wanted to be a rally driver. But even something that you're so passionate about and you live for and you do well at, there comes a point when you just like, for whatever reason, whether it be you haven't got as much money as the guy next to you, you haven't had the luck that the guy next to you had, you've had a couple of bad results, and people don't understand how hard it is on your mental health. You know, you get a good result and you can get a bad result. Now, after the good result, for 3 days you're on a high. What goes up must come down. No matter how good your result was, on day 4 or day 5, you're starting to feel down. And there's not many people can relate to that, because a job doesn't really create that. It's mainly in sports people. So I get you. You know, I get everything about you. I get how it ended. I get why people say, oh, it was too soon. But I get why. You know, sometimes you need to, no matter how good you are at something, no matter how much you enjoy it, especially when you get to the age when you've got family and stuff involved, it's even more important. But you need to prioritise things. And if something not necessarily is not making you happy, or it's not giving you that buzz that you need to just either put it on the coals for a bit, find something else to do, or get out completely.
Yeah.
You know, and it's how do you fill that gap afterwards? Now, obviously, you've just explained you've got this new job. Obviously, you've got 4 kids, so there's not much gap to fill. But you seem happy at the moment.
Yeah, I am really happy, and I think the difficult part for me was not how do I fill this. It was difficult, that part, but not as difficult as not how do I fill this gap afterwards, but the transition from when I was still a pro cyclist to stopping. So I literally loved this sport. Like, it's all I thought about. And it wasn't because I was told to, because my mum and dad said, oh, you need to do more cycling, or you need to go to this race. I literally, it's all I thought about. I was completely obsessed. I didn't really go out much as a kid. All I cared about in school was getting to the weekend to ride my bike, right? My whole life, I loved it. Like, I can't even put it into words how obsessed I was. So for me to try and then compute that in my mind of when I was in the last 2-3 years of my career, I could not work it out. I could not get to a point where I was okay with stopping, because I was brokenhearted. Like, my heart was broke. I loved this sport, you know. So how I was, and then also, you know, I'd grown up, I had all these idols. I'd raced against my idols. At one point, when I used to read Cycling Weekly magazine, you know, back in the day when there was no Instagram or internet, I would see these guys and I'd be like, there's no way I can do that. Like, that's never going to be me.
The dream.
And that was me. And then to get to a point where you need to accept that you fell out of love with that's been your whole life and your whole childhood and everything you've ever known. That is bloody difficult. And that took me, I would say, 4-6 years of turmoil in my mind every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was so unhappy, so down. Oh, it was awful. But the hardest years of my life, like, easily. Yeah.
Say I can totally relate to it, because it's so similar with rallying and the way that I left rallying. The difference with me is I took 20 years out and went back and did a rally and finished 3rd. I took another 10 years out, went back and did a rally and finished 2nd. You can't do that, because your body deteriorates with age. I have no doubt that you could jump on a bike and go and smash a veterans race tomorrow, but you don't want to do that, do you? Because, you know, your glory was what it was. People remember you for that. People will remember you if you're commentating, because that was really good, really entertaining. Hopefully now people remember you for what you're doing, you know, on the not coaching side, but the big teams. And when it all ends, I do see a future in music for you. You know, I surround myself with good people. I learned this lesson a long time ago. And it's the same with who I pick to play the special slots at the event. It's down to a trust thing. And I haven't booked you because you're Peter Kennaugh, the cyclist. You know, I booked you because I sat there and watched, and you couldn't see me, but I sat and watched the last gig that you played.
Yeah, I had no idea you were there.
No, it's right behind you. And I was blown away. You know, it was really, really good. And I think you need to do a big gig away eventually. Well, you know, maybe in a year or whenever the time is right. Who knows? We might get a phone call tomorrow. But you need to do a big gig away. people need to see what you're actually capable of, and then it's okay for people to go, oh, that's Peter Kennaugh, the cyclist, at first, but people need to switch very quickly, like I've done, to hang on, this is PK, the DJ, the producer, who, in my opinion, has got every chance of having a successful career in this.
Well, very kind words,
No
Scott. I mean, you can see though, you know, when you're talking about that, like how more unnatural my answer is, you know.
Totally.
Because
it's out of your comfort zone.
It's out of my comfort zone.
But
like
you've
I'm
spent
not
half your life out of your comfort zone.
But I'm not at ease with chasing that dream for some reason. I don't know why. But but I think with me, it's the main sort of point with music is, and I don't know if it's going to hold me back, but like I said at the start, like I don't do it for anything other than the fact that I just love it.
It's passion.
It's just passion, yeah.
But
like, you know, like I remember someone saying like, oh yeah, are you going to grow out of this? Like, I don't know, it wasn't my dad, it was someone else. Are you going to grow out of this type of music? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, give me a call back in 15 years.
Yeah.
It was Chris Newton. He's won Olympic medals, world champion, blah, 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 cyclist. And he said it when I think I must have been 21. He says, yeah, you'll grow out of this. Like, you won't like it in five years' time. I said, give me a call back in 10 years' time, see if I still like it. Here we are, almost 20 years later.
Yeah.
I still love it.
It's very
still
addictive.
Love it.
It's very addictive.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I don't know, everyone hears music differently and feels it differently, but the stuff that I listen to and that I play and that I'm into, it's like, it consumes me. I feel happier.
Yeah. You get your people who hear music through their ears, and then you get your people who hear music through the soul. And it's very different. And it takes a certain kind of music to get into here.
Yeah.
And not everybody's going to like the same music. You know, we know this. And this is probably why some of the old music, pop music, the old 70s, the old 60s even, has stood the test of time so well, because of the way that it was produced, the lyrics. When you look at some of these new tracks, and I'm not referring to you here, I'm referring to Bob in his bedroom, who hasn't even played a gig yet, who's watched 3 hours on YouTube of how to do Ableton, and he's made a track and it's out there on Beatport a month later. Now, 80% of the stuff around is junk. You know, it's put together by people. No, don't get me wrong, I'm sure they'll get better. But the quality of music that's being produced at the moment is quite low, and the big names that are producing the good tunes, 9 times out of 10 is somebody else making them for them. So this is one bit of the industry I don't like.
Yeah, I'm not too clued up with all that, to be honest, but I think that's also the world we live in. There's so much turnover of music now. Like, you make a good if you make a good track, it probably lasts like a month max.
Yeah. Because
everyone's doing it, everyone knows how to do it, everyone can teach themselves on YouTube or other platforms or whatever. And but I think that's just the world we live in. If you made a banging record 20, 30 years ago, it would last for a year easily, you know.
Still there, aren't
but there's just it's completely, the market is saturated at the minute. And I think, and everyone, you know, when you listen to interviews with certain people and they're like, oh yeah, you know, you've got to set yourself aside, you've got to set yourself apart, whether it's being like active on social media or, you know, making a sort of like a personality that sets you apart from the other person who's doing exactly the same thing.
Like Horsewoman.
That's what you need to do. But this is my point, right? This is what I'm basically born 20 years too late. I don't like that. That's not for me.
Yeah. At
all. Like, I'm not into music to set myself aside or create this persona. I'm into it because I love it. Yeah. Like, and I love the fact that that's why I do it. But also, like, is it not just more sort of, what's the word, like, I don't know, like, with someone who is, I think, to make it as someone in my head who does it for the reasons that I do, has to be really, really talented and good at what they do. If they're not putting themselves out there, or they're not, you know, going the extra mile on other stuff to bring their music forward. Yeah. But that's what I love, you know. It's like, if I'm not going to make it that way, or progress that way, then I don't want to do 1 minute Insta reels with stupid glasses on and a wig. You know what I mean?
People find you.
Well, no, I just want to do it because I do it, and if I'm found or people like it, then it'll progress and my career will move on. If not, honestly, don't care because it's not for the right reason.
Good attitude. Very good attitude. There was something that I've watched a lot of stuff on you lately. It's all wrote down here and I haven't used it once. So, but there was something that you said in one of your interviews. I think it was in your documentary. I'll post a link to the documentary in the comments. If everybody's got 18 minutes of their life spare, I really suggest you watch this because it touches more on Peter Kennaugh, the cyclist, obviously the family man, the Manx man, and it's a real good watch. So, and there was something that you said, and you sat doing this little talk in front of the camera, and you're like, you're going through the motions of, look, do this, do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. And then you said, if it gets to a point where there's something that you really want to do, you just do it. And it really hit a chord with me because that's how I live my life. And so many people don't. So many people just think of things and then overthink in their head and torture themselves to death and then never do it. And the kind of people who've got any go are the opposite. And they're the kind of people that I like being around because people without that kind of energy, they drain me. I don't know about you. They do. They like, I've been known to walk off mid-conversation on certain people just, and not even know I've done it, you know, so.
Yeah, I think the world's a dangerous trap though, isn't it? I mean,
yes.
It's not, you know, you can speak to, it depends who you're speaking to, but you can fall down the trap of being secure and being like in a mundane life, but it doesn't mean you're not happy or not interested.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's important also.
Yeah.
Like, I think the main point is like, as a person, if you're genuinely deep down happy and content with what you're doing, then it doesn't matter how boring you are, because who cares what Scott Bradshaw thinks if I'm actually really happy?
Yeah.
I don't care.
That comes with age, doesn't it?
That comes with age, but at the same time, if you're that person with massive resentment and regret about something you didn't do and you're actually an absolute arsehole because you take out on everyone else, then that's the problem.
Correct.
And the world is like, that's how the world works. Like, you bump into people and you surround yourself with people that are on the same wavelength, and like, you might or I might be too much for someone else on the street, and they might think,
for everyone, mate.
Yeah, you might think.
Even the psychiatrist left the room when they sent me to see the psychiatrist.
Well, I don't know if it says anything about me, but I don't think you're that mental at all.
Well, I'm 53. I'm 54 next week.
I did think you were mental when you packed your bags and left Drive for at 37. But
yeah, with the 500 quid in my pocket.
But I think it's like, yeah, when I was in the taxi on the way down here, I was like, this is pretty rare, isn't it? Just going to do a podcast with Scott on sort of my life as a DJ and cyclist and about the Full Moon Festival and stuff. But then I was like, how brilliant is that?
Yeah,
I'm 35, I've got 4 kids, and I'm going to meet an absolute Manx legend to do...
Oh, give up, will you?
to just,
chat rubbish.
Shoot the shit about anything.
And speak your mind.
And actually, but I took that moment in the taxi, and I don't know if other people do this, to actually think how lucky I am.
Yeah.
That my life is not just one-dimensional, and that I can't, like, that I am doing this. And I think, I don't know if that's down to me or down to who, I don't know what it is, but this is where I'm at now. Some people might say, there's loads of people out there who would say to me, you need to grow up. You know, you're a dad, you've got... No, it's true.
No, I know it is.
Yeah.
People say it to me all the time.
And I think, sometimes I think, actually, yeah, maybe I do need to grow up, but I think, I hate the word, I don't want to use the word balance, but I just said it, because I hate the word balance, because I would prefer a high and to have a low than to never feel a high or a low, because I think they're both brilliant in their own ways. But if you've got the balance of like your life, right, if you're supporting your kids and you're giving them your full commitment and you can do your thing, then I think age is just age, isn't it? It's like what, you know, like I'm swimming with Axel Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then he said, swimming Wednesday and Thursday. And he gets back from swimming last night and he goes, oh, can we go early bird swimming in Ramsey? This is Thursday around 9 o'clock last night after youth club. So I was like, Lauren, when's he going to run out of energy, this kid? I was like, mate, you really want to go early bird swimming tomorrow? He was like, yeah. I was like, okay. So I set my alarm for 6 o'clock because I need to get to Ramsey Pool for 7. Because I need at least 2 coffees before I wake Axel. And then I went in his room and said, Axel, you still want to go swimming? He was like, nah, I can't be bothered. Anyway, I was like, get in there. I've broke him. You know? I was like, no, because it was like, he was running Monday, Tuesday. He does bassoon practice, like a small trumpet thing at school. Then he does swimming Wednesday, Thursday, youth club Thursday night. And it's just like, as a parent, then you're cooking for the other kids and your bloody feet aren't touching the floor. Then I have 1 minute at 9 o'clock on Thursday night after I've picked him up and brought him home from youth club and gave him a bagel or whatever. Oh, we're still going early bird swimming on Friday because I mentioned that we would do on Monday when I came back from Paris. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. I was like, yeah, okay. So I set the alarm, walk in his room. I can't be bothered. I was like, there we go. I knew there was a limit. But my point is...
How old is this kid?
9.
Broken him.
Yeah. But no, he broke himself. But my point is, like, from the outside, people may think, what you're doing with your music or how you are seems a bit like 19-year-old-ish, but actually that's 1% of my life, you know? The rest is completely committed to my family and who I am as a dad and a husband, but this is the 1% that I absolutely love. And it's like, actually, I don't care really. Yeah. But sometimes I sit back and think, oh, am I, a little bit too old to be, doing this sort of stuff.
God's sake, if you're too old, what hope have I got?
Yeah, but these are the conversations I have in my head, though, all the time. They don't. It's like internal.
There's a chapter in my book, Overthinking. You need to read it. Right. The kids. Do you think they'll end up cycling? Are you going to push it, or are you going to keep them away? I have the same. The reason I ask is I've tried my hardest to keep my kids out of motorsport, even though it's me who took them, thinking it'd all just end at 14, and unfortunately they're both really, really good. But motorsport's expensive, and I now regret sort of even half letting them go that way. Yeah. How do you feel about that?
So as a parent, I don't. Sometimes I think, am I doing enough? Am I? Because you see parents who put their kids into everything, really push them to do certain sports, or learn an instrument or whatever it is. I don't know, whatever it is, but I am so blasé. I don't push them to do anything. Like, if they come to me and say, I want to do this, then I full gas. Yeah. It's like the example of Axel swimming. I said to him once he'd started swimming for 2-3 months, I was like, oh, do you want to go early bird swimming before school? Yeah, great. I didn't ever mention that before that. I just seen he was interested and thought, oh, it'd be a nice thing to do as a father and son, Yeah, of course. But then, and I don't introduce them to anything. I mean, they're introduced through, to cycling through what I did. But my youngest daughter, Alba, who's 3, this always blows my mind. She was born after my career. So she has no...
Doesn't know who you are.
No.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
It's not a bad thing.
No, it's amazing. Yeah. But what is also amazing is that how you can live one life with so many, I don't know, not so many sort of parts to it, Mm-hmm. So it's like, even now when I look back at who I was as a 24, 25-year-old, I do not recognise that person. I can't relate to it with him. I don't see myself in him now. I am completely different. Yeah. And it's insane, isn't it?
Well, it's another thing I totally get, because I come from a similar kind of thing with so many different things going on in multi-life, shall we say. I can't multitask, but when it comes to things like this, I really can. You're doing it now. You've got your music, family life, you're away. Obviously, working away is a big thing. It's not just driving down the road. You've got to get on a plane. You've got to do it without missing it. You've got to do it without losing your phone. We won't mention that one.
Once a year at least.
You know, so I don't know. I think, yeah, the word balance is good, but plan as little as possible is also a good motto. You know, there's certain that obviously I know you need to plan things when it comes to kids and stuff. And as you grow older with kids, you have to plan things. But one thing I learned when I was a bit younger was try not to plan things. Try to just let them happen. You know, and if you're in the right situation with the right people, the right things will happen. So, although you learn a lot as you get older, you seem to be at that point now where you're a lot wiser than you were. You're still young enough to have fun. And don't be frightened to, you know, don't ever grow up. I've got no intention of growing up. God's sake, man, I'm 54 next week and I still do not know what I want to be. Can we have a quick break there? I'm going to piss the couch.
I need a piss.
I'm going to piss. I've been trying to find
I don't know what I want to be.
Trying to find the perfect time to break.
You tap that.
Right, let's get this finished.
Still rolling.
Okay. I know I'm 54 next week, but the old bladder ain't what it used to be, I'm afraid. Sorry for the break. Right, there is one thing that I really do want to touch on. And it's a guy called Mark Cavendish, who I've recently learned is a really, really good friend of yours. It's not just a cycling friend. You've grown up idolising him. You've done events together. You've beaten him.
A few times,
to see, I've got
got one thing he hasn't got.
A gold medal.
A fit wife.
You can't say that.
Just did.
Yeah, no, good. I love a bit of controversy. I used to sell him his trainers, right? I used to have a shop selling DCs. I know his dad. I've watched Mark grow up. I've watched you grow up sort of with him. I've read the papers. I've seen everything that goes on. I had a similar situation with Mark Higgins and Martin Rowe. You know, we were all good friends. We sat in the same class at school and we all ended up at British Rally Championship top level. You must be really proud of Cav.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different sort of relationship I have with him to sit back and say, I'm really proud of you.
Yeah, you wouldn't say it to him. No,
but when I think about, I'm proud of our relationship,
yeah,
and what we've done together, and also, you know, what I'm also proud to call him a friend because of, you know, how much he's done for me throughout my career, and that's not in terms of where I'm at now or when I was a pro. That's more to do with when I was 14, 15.
Yeah.
Because if you think back to, you know, our conversation earlier when I was, you know, skimming through cycling weekly and looking at these idols and thinking that's just, it's so far away, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
The one person who made that dream seem possible was Cav, because all of a sudden he was, you know, a 16-year-old lad in the Isle of Man. Fast forward 4 years, he's coming home in, at the time, T-Mobile cycling kit, who Jan Ulrich rode for, Bjorn Rees, who won the Tour de France. And I was out training with him.
Yeah.
You got to remember, he's 4 years older than me.
Yeah.
As a 16, 17-year-old.
Yeah.
So, and also able to drop him on climbs. So all of a sudden, for me, as a 15-year-old kid, I'm thinking, I'm just the same as him.
Yeah.
So it goes from like seeing these like idols and this
You're becoming
dream.
Your idol.
I just like, but he made it. He simplified it, and he also made it realistic, because then those idols that you look at and worship, you realise, well, they're the same as Cav, and he's the same as me. And then it's like, it all seems possible. But he moulded
greatest
that.
Sprinter of all time.
The great, and he wasn't then.
No.
But he was sort of in my head like a pathway to understanding that, no, it is possible.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, if you, like, we're good friends and we have banter, and it's like, I have my career and I have my highs in my career, and he has obviously all the highs of his.
You can run a half marathon quicker than him, though.
I could run a half marathon quicker than with one leg. There was, you know, sometimes rivalry there. There was ups and downs in our relationship, but like I will never ever stop being thankful to Cav for, you know, showing me that it was possible.
Yeah.
And no one else did that. And when he did, I started to believe, like really believe.
Am I right in thinking that I saw a picture some time ago when you were doing the Tour de France? And I don't know if it was a picture of you and Cav together. And I can't remember if it was you that had waited for him or he'd waited for you.
Not sure.
But you ended up together, and I'm pretty sure you're in different teams as well.
Yeah. Most of our career we were. Yeah.
But it's just, you know, what he's done is incredible. Personally, I think he should have a statue. I also think you should. Not for your DJing yet.
No, not yet.
It's still unproved.
Yeah. Be funny if I did, though, for the DJing and not my cycling, wouldn't it?
A statue for DJing.
It's on the ones and twos outside the C terminal.
There's only one man going to get that. Neil Cowie. No, but I've got friends that I'm really proud of, and when people say to me, "Oh, you must be dead proud," and in the past I've been, "Oh, how do I really answer this without bigging them up too much?" But these days it's just like Mark Higgins, a class example. I started my rallying career sitting in with him. I went and did a rally in Ireland with him. Jesus Christ, the guy's mental. He does the TT course. There isn't Colin McRae, Sebastian Loeb, none of them could go around the TT course as quick as Mark Higgins did. Not having it, they won't do it. Then you look at Martin Rowe. Martin Rowe started co-driving for me, and then he went on to be British champion. I remember on the Manx Rally, driving past the grandstand and seeing the Shell Scholarship Escort Cosworth on the finish ramp in first place. My best mate had just won the Manx National Rally. I couldn't fucking believe what I was seeing, right? I started crying. I came round the corner into service and we were running very far down. We'd had a problem and found out that we were 11th overall. And we were in a little 900cc car. So one thing that I can see with your relationship with Cav is, you obviously are very proud of him. You don't lick his ass, he's a mate.
No.
You're going to have a drink with him after. You went to the sports awards with him. But what the guy's achieved, is incredible.
Yeah.
What you achieved is incredible. I've got a list here of your results. I'm not even going to bother reading them out, but it's just insane.
Yeah.
And fair play to you for that. You were literally one of the best in the world. And that's mad. And for me to have somebody like you on my first podcast is just, I feel quite proud of that as well. I'm also quite proud that I know you as Pete Kennaugh. Not for years, like people will think, because you're the first person on it. We only met 6 months ago. I like everything about you. I like your attitude to life. I like the way that you're not scared to move on. There isn't many people like that. Now, when it comes to your DJing, I like everything about it. I spend all winter out watching bands and DJs. So when the time's right, I actually do think that there's possibly a career there for you. You need to stop overthinking so much on it, because you don't realise how good you are.
I hope that's the case.
No,
and then I also hope I find more time to... That's the problem. But I mean, just quickly to touch on Cav again, I think it's... there's talking about Higgins there, I mean, there's amazing stories that, in the... where's the pub down by the Claddocks? Sulby pub.
Sulby, yeah.
We were breaking pool cues in there by accident when we were 10, 12 after a club 10. He stayed at mine after. He used to have cycling dinners back in the day, which would be the sort of highlight of the year for all the club cyclists. He used to come stay back at mine then. Went on my first trip with him to the Manchester Youth Tour, and back then if you had a time trial bike as an adult, and he was 16, so he was an adult, the front wheel was smaller than the back wheel, very old school. But I was under 10, and my bike had both. So my bike was 26-inch wheels, both of them, and his front wheel was 26-inch, full-size wheels, 28, I think. I hope I sound correct here, because that sounds completely clueless. But anyway, he lent me his wheel because it was like faster.
This is the time that he broke his 10-mile record, though, is it?
No. He told his brother Andy at the Manchester Youth Tour as well, when we were all staying in the youth hostel in Manchester. I was, you'd all be on bunk beds. Unluckily for me, I was below Andy. He'd lift up his mattress and do that thing where you'd hang your spit, for like just as about to hit me and suck it up. He would tell his brother off for that.
I haven't done that for years.
He actually picked me up when I was at my lowest moment and had no one else to call.
Still a top friend to you now, though.
Yeah, still. So I joke. I was just trying to get back to the point where, like, I don't see myself. I don't see him and think I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
But I'm proud of our relationship and like what he's done for me. It makes me feel proud to know him.
Yeah.
And I think he's I don't know what he's going to do with the rest of his life, but I think he's done it. He's done everything and he's done it all, hasn't he?
Well, he could take up a couple of years just by doing a marathon, judging by his time on the marathon.
Yeah.
Don't tell him I said that. Right, one last thing before we go, and I've got to ask you this because I know you love the place. You go to different countries all the time, right? When you come off the plane in Ibiza and you walk through them doors that these days open themselves, when I first started going, you had to open them yourselves, you get this feeling, right? I can't find anywhere in the world that gets it. I know you get the same feeling. What is it that makes Ibiza so special to Manx people?
Good question. It's a good question. It's funny because my passport is it's about to run out of stamps at the minute. I've actually got no pages left, but I'm going away next week and I've actually gone through all my pages and there's one page with one stamp on and 3 empty spaces. So I'm hoping I'm going to be all right. But I flicking through all the pages. Ibiza, flick, Ibiza. They've been there every year since 2011 was my first year, without fail. And you asked the question.
That's a pretty good record.
It's not bad, is it? It's not bad. You asked the question, what, how, why, what makes it feel like that? I think it's a subconsciousness of your brain. But then, no, I don't know. Actually, it's an amazing question because no one knows the answer because I've been there.
That's why I saved it.
I've been there in 2011 and walked off and not thought anything because I wasn't fully into the scene then, and I was into music, but I didn't know the ins and outs and didn't understand Ibiza for what it was. Don't know. It's
that's the answer. That's it there, and that's why people keep going back.
And that's why I keep going back, even though I'm done with the place. I'm done with what it's turned into. I'm done with like how it's evolved and the parties that are there now. But actually, when you land and you walk out, and in my brain I'm like, but I know I can re-find that spirit that I know is there, that I know is there.
Hey, it's there.
And it's still there.
Oh, it's there.
Well, that's what I mean. So you've got all these stupid clubs with the VIPs and crap
keep away from
DJs.
that.
It's there.
Yeah.
Why and what it is, I don't know.
The campsites, the beach bars, if you want that proper Ibiza magic, we lived on the campsites for 2 years and people saying to me, why are you doing that? I'm like, it's more expensive than a hotel. But it's I think it's to do with an aura. So I think it's the locals, they know that this Ibiza is Ibiza because of what it is, the music, if you go back years and years, the hippies and everything. But also like the Isle of Man, right? If you land, so just to try and explain Ibiza, if you land on the Isle of Man on November the 22nd, walk off, think nothing, right? Walk off at the end of May, early June, with leather jackets on and a motorbike, you're like, oh, this place is it's an aura. It's like there's no place like it in the world. For that week.
Like and it's as soon as you arrive off that boat and you drive off or you walk off, your body is like, this is my home. Yeah. And it's like everyone feels that.
Yeah.
It's the same with Ibiza.
Yeah.
It's not to do with one thing or another.
Yeah.
It's because of what that island is at that moment in time.
It's incredible.
you know, and it's what the Isle of Man is for 2 weeks in TT.
Yeah.
Like you can't. There's no place on earth like the Isle of Man.
Not for that 2 weeks.
There's no place on earth like Ibiza.
And you go to massive events on a regular basis, and I've been to some big events as well. I don't mean necessarily dance events. You see the big party atmosphere. Like Formula One, I would imagine, is on a par with what we have here. But people have no idea how good that is.
But also like it's not, Formula One isn't Ibiza.
No.
Or the places you go to Ibiza might be like Formula One, but that's not why you're there, or why you want to be there.
With this new club, what they call
Universe.
it, Hyper Club, Universe, I don't know, I just see it turning into Vegas, so I'll stick with the North and stick with the hippies playing the ball.
Oh, too right. The more like every event I go to now, I just seek out small capacity.
Yeah, me too.
Because you just can't beat the vibe.
Intimacy, can you?
No.
Right, look, I'm going to end it there. Peter, it's been an absolute pleasure, man.
Legend.
Right? I haven't even referred to my notes, you know, so all that worrying for the last 2 weeks is just totally
put it in the fire.
Maybe tonight I can get a proper night's sleep. I wish you all the best with the future. You. I can't wait to see you set a full moon, and possibly something else that we'll work on that might happen in the quieter tents, and they won't be quiet for very long.
Never know.
I just wish you all the best, and thank you very much for being the Full Moon Festival's very first guest. And let's see what the future brings.
It's been
never say never.
Pleasure.
Never say never.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Nah, anytime, man.
Cheers.